This is the Louie T Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime! So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. Indianapolis Colts traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks in a game that was interesting from a number of perspectives. I know a lot of people wasn't excited about this game unless you were a fan of one of these two teams. And I understand that. I mean, the Colts came into the game at 1-2. The Seahawks came into this game at 1-2. But after watching the Rams go on the road and beat the Dallas Cowboys, this game took on a little bit more meaning for me because I needed to see them dismantle the Indianapolis Colts here. No Andrew Luck. This Colts team still figuring some things out. A lot of young players, a lot of different parts. They beat Cleveland last week to get their first win of the season. That's nice. That's cute. Everybody beats Cleveland, okay? Once again, the Browns look like they're a candidate for worst team in the league again, and they're probably going to be the last team to win a game this season. So San Francisco's been close twice in the division. Meanwhile, Cleveland got their brains bashed in by an 0-3 Cincinnati team. So while they won last week, it was Cleveland at home, okay? They should have beat Arizona. They didn't. And so you find yourself at 1-2 after getting destroyed by the Rams in week 1. You look at Seattle, and they've had murderer's row as the first 3 games of the season. A sans for San Francisco, and that's family business. So Green Bay on the road, Tennessee on the road, 2 really quality football teams. And I think I actually forgot to mention the Green Bay Packers on my tweet. I sure did. I'd have to go back and retweet that out. But in any event, the Packers are one of the best teams in the NFC. I didn't put that in my tweet. I forgot all about the Packers. I'm not going to lie to you. But they're one of the better teams in the NFC. The Titans are a young, up-and-coming football team, even though they got dismantled today. They're a solid football team on the road. They're tough to deal with. And I'm not worried about Seattle. I think Seattle Seahawks fans, they shouldn't be concerned yet. You know, when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, smoke clears, they're going to be at the top of that NFC West division. At least that's what I have envisioned. Because I don't know that there's another team in that division that has the ability to put together an entire season that is going to allow them to win double-digit games. And I know what the Seahawks are capable of. I've seen them do it before. They've got a veteran roster with guys that know how to get it done. And so I just feel like when it's all said and done, they're going to be 10-6. But I needed to see that old Seattle Seahawks team that was capable of taking an inferior team and disassembling them. I mean, taking them apart piece by piece and putting all the pieces off to the side and sliding it back over to Indianapolis and saying, here you go. Take these. Go put yourself back together next week versus San Francisco. Not here. And they did that. And that was that's what I needed to see. And it took them about 2.5 quarters to get to the point where they were ready to do that. But they did it. And that's all that matters. And so that was impressive. That was impressive. Granted, it's the Indianapolis Colts. I get it. But that's what you're supposed to do to the Indianapolis Colts. Thus far this season, they hadn't been doing that to teams that they should have been doing that to. And so that was impressive. It really was. And to see some of the weaponry that they possessed and some of the things, this game was interesting, like I said before, because you found out some things about Seattle, some pieces that they may have for the future. You just feel so bad for Chris Carson, a 7th round pick that I didn't think had a shot at making this roster. You know, when you look at all the backs that they had, they signed Eddie Lacy. You got Thomas Rawls coming back off of injury. You had C.J. Prosise coming off an injury. There was no way there was enough space on this roster for a guy like Chris Carson in my mind. And I didn't think he did anything special. I looked at him out of Oklahoma State, and I was like, he'll be on the practice squad. If they need him, they can pull him up. And to see a guy like J.D. McKissick doing what he did tonight, all of a sudden now there's some stuff out there. We're going to talk about all those things with the Seahawks. We're going to talk about the Colts. And I told you last week. I told you the week before. I'm going to tell you again tonight. Jacoby Brissett can start in this league for somebody, man. If I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm continuing to showcase this young man because I'm trying to get somebody's second or third round pickup off him. Preferably a 2. You know, it's a desperate league out there looking for a quarterback. Man, Jacoby Brissett can play in this league. I'm trying to tell y'all. I wasn't sold when he first burst onto the scene with the New England Patriots last season as a rookie, but he was a rookie. You know, I was like, I wasn't a huge Jacoby Brissett fan at NC State. I was like, he's all right, but he's not real. I'm trying to tell y'all. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too. But in any event, thank you for joining me here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Seattle Seahawks dominate the second half of this game and rout the Indianapolis Colts 46-18. So this ended up being an ass whoopee type of ball game. Wasn't like that for the first half, but this thing got out of hand quickly, as NFL games tend to do when one team is clearly better than the other. And so we'll talk about how that happened. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content on this channel. We're changing the game over here. I want you to help us do that by simply hitting that subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. Also, I'm on a number of social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All of that is down in the discussion below. So check out the discussion or description box, below this video. And go ahead and get acquainted with those. And also, if you want to donate to this channel, I said I'm trying to change the game. And one of the best ways I can do that is by starting to kind of build up some capital and being able to make some moves. And the best way to be able to do that is to have my viewers, people that are as passionate about this National Football League as I am, donate to this channel. If you love the content, you want to support, doesn't matter how big or small, I appreciate them all. You can donate via PayPal. The link is in the description as well. So I'd appreciate if you were able to do so. And if you can't, like I said before, man, just continue to watch, support, like, share the videos. That'll help me grow as well. So with that being said, let's jump into this breakdown, and we'll start with the Seattle Seahawks side of things. It was a rough start to the game. You've got the safety. This Colts team was not backing down early, despite the pick 6 thrown by Brissett. They were in this ball game. Brissett takes them down the field right before the half, and they score a touchdown to take the lead. They had picked Russell Wilson off early in the game, and that led to points as well. So they were confident. They felt like they could compete with this team. And I've said this before, when you allow a team that has no business really competing with you, you allow them to hang into the game, it gives them confidence. It gives them a belief that, hey, we can do this. Sort of like the Rams. I'm not saying that the Cowboys were supposed to dominate that game and that the Rams are inferior to the to the Dallas Cowboys, but the Cowboys were the better team. In my mind, the Cowboys were the better team. However, they allowed that Rams team to hang around. And you look up, and they said, man, we're only down 8 at halftime. We got thoroughly dominated in the first half, and we're only down a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 1 score. Man, we can beat these dudes. And then you look up in the second half, and they score 19 unanswered points. The next thing you know, they're up by 8. And the Cowboys got to go for a 2-point conversion that they don't get. And so that's what happens when you allow. But the difference in that game and this game is that the Rams were much closer in terms of talent and skill level than the Indianapolis Colts were to the Seattle Seahawks. At some point, Indianapolis looked up and said, damn, we got a shot. And the Seahawks said, no, you don't. no, you don't. Matter of fact, let me put this to rest right now. No, you don't. And they went off on those boys, created some turnovers, and they ran away with this thing like they were supposed to. And This was a game where I looked at this Seattle Seahawks team, and I've been talking about their offense and the lack thereof all season long, and I said, okay, here's an opportunity for you to show that you can score, because the Colts, even though I think they're getting better as a defensive football team, and I've talked about the Colts and how I feel like they've got some young, talented football players and they've made some good moves. I like Al Woods, and I like that addition to this team. It makes them tougher up front. I talked about that, how they're better up front. Guys like Al Woods. I like John Bostic and some of those guys inside at the linebacker position, Morrison. That makes them tougher up front in that front seven. They still don't have a true difference-making pass rusher, but I like Jabal Sheard. So I told you I like the way that they're doing things, and then I talked about their secondary and how it's starting to get healthier. You saw one of their starting corners return to the field in this game. So the defense is better for Indy. Could you go out and just put up some points? You scored 27 last week, but a lot of those points last week versus Tennessee came in garbage time when you were just trying to make the score look pretty. Just, okay, yeah, it was 30-14 at one point, but we're going to make this thing look interesting. We're going to cut it to 27-33 before this thing ends, so it doesn't look as bad. But if you watch the game, Tennessee had run away with that game at one point. So even though it was 27 and I felt good that you scored 27, I was like, I need to see more. And you turned it up in the second half of this game. Russell Wilson was able to get outside the pocket and extend, make some plays. I always like when this Seattle Seahawks team, they're spreading the football around. Anytime I see Doug Baldwin with 12 or 13 catches, they're usually going to score anywhere from 12 to 20 points, and they're going to struggle offensively because they're not built to just have one guy dominate the football at the receiver position. When you see everyone getting involved, Lockett, Richardson, Luke Wilson at the tight end position, Jimmy Graham at the tight end position. Of course, Doug Baldwin, the Angry Bird, needs to get his touches. When you see everyone, and then now you got J.D. McKissick getting involved, and then the run game is starting to sprinkle in a little bit of production, that's when this team is its most dangerous. When you don't know who's going to get the ball and how do you stop it. That's when this team becomes a problem, when they're balanced offensively, when Russell Wilson isn't slinging it 42 times or even 38 times, when he's in the 20s, the mid-20s like he was tonight. I think he was like 21 or 26. Ridiculous accuracy in this game. And one of those incomplete passes turned into an interception, went right through the hands of Jimmy Graham. So it could have easily been 22 of 26 in this game with one less interception, but that's nor here nor there. This team is at its best when it remains balanced and they can run the football. And Carson ran it well tonight. Eddie Lacy ran it well tonight. McKissick gave you a spark there as well. And so when you get that kind of balance, this football team is going to be tough to beat. Now, I still think there are some problems defensively. We'll get to those in a second. But this team did some good things offensively tonight. And the biggest takeaway that I had tonight is that you may have some weapons that you didn't quite know how to use earlier in the season, but I'm looking at J.D. McKissick, and I'm intrigued. I think that's a weapon now. And with the injury to Chris Carson, and he's done. I don't know if you saw the injury or not. He's done for the season. And I feel so bad for him. The entire team came out there. He was crying. You could tell he worked so hard as a 7th-round pick. You hate to see that happen to anybody, let alone a guy that worked his ass off to get to the point where he's starting for this team. It's a tough scene to watch. But in any event, he looked like he might have broke his ankle. That thing's broken, I think, if I had to guess. We'll hear the particulars as he gets an MRI and they're able to kind of look at it once the swelling and everything goes down. But I'm pretty sure that we're going to hear that it's something substantial and he's done for the season. So now other guys are going to have to step up in that backfield. Eddie Lacy, this is what you gave him $5 million for 1 year to do, is to step up in a situation like this. You're hoping that you can get some of your other guys healthy, Rawls, and I don't trust either one of those guys anymore, Rawls or CJ Prosise. They're never healthy. So I think you're going to have to roll with Lacy and McKissick for the time being. And I'm, like I said, I'm intrigued by McKissick because he offers you something that you lack in your backfield when Prosise isn't in. And that's just elite speed, the ability to hit a hole. That touchdown he scored tonight, man, was that quick. Did you see the move? He put a cut on a defender out in space without breaking stride. Like, that's hard to do, and not a lot of guys in this league can do that. But, I mean, he put a move on that guy without hesitation, without breaking stride. That cut was seamless within his stride. It was beautiful, and he accelerated, jumped over a defender that was trying to clip his heels into the end zone. He goes, and that's what they need. They need that change of pace. They got a bunch of guys that can run physically in between the tackles. That's what C.J. Prosise is supposed to be, that change of pace, home run hitting threat. And he just can't stay healthy. And then when you look at McKissick, he's an ex-receiver. You saw the touchdown grab he had. That's impressive. That's scary if you're playing the Seahawks and there's a guy that can come out of the backfield and run a route like that and adjust to the football the way that he did like a receiver. That's scary. And so if I'm Seattle, I'm looking for more ways to exploit mismatches with J.D. McKissick out of the backfield, because most teams aren't aware of his background. Most teams aren't going to, again, like I thought Chris Collinsworth did a great job of illustrating. You slap a 20 number on him, a 20 jersey on him, and all of a sudden now you got a linebacker walking out there with him instead of a corner. And this guy was an ex-receiver, so he's got hands. He can catch. Was it the cleanest catch? No, but it was a beautiful catch. And it took a guy that can adjust to the ball. Most running backs can't adjust to the football like that. And that was all hands. Even though he double caught it, it was all hands. Most running backs, when they catch the football with their body. He went all hands with that one. And so that lets me know that this guy can be a weapon for Seattle. And they did some really good things tonight offensively. And like I said, when they spread the football around, when everybody's getting a little taste in Seattle, that's when they're dangerous. That's when they're a tough team to deal with. When Doug Baldwin has 13 catches for 106 yards, that's when you know they're struggling offensively. That's when you know they're struggling to score. And that's when you know you got a chance to beat them. When you take all the other guys away and you say, hey, Doug, you're going to have to do it by yourself, and you make sure that it's nothing explosive. It's all underneath. It's all Russell Wilson trying to extend by himself. Offensive line's breaking down, and he's getting it to Doug Baldwin out in the flats, and it's all underneath, and Doug is trying to do what he can yards after catch-wise. That's when you got a shot to beat this team. But when they're pushing the football down the field, Russell's getting out of the pocket, they're running the football effectively, they're keeping you off balance so you can't come after Russell, and this offensive line has a chance to protect because there is balance and everybody's getting involved, these are the types of nights that they can have in Seattle. And that's why they're still a dangerous football team. They still got a lot to prove to me if they want to make a trip back to the Super Bowl. But this was a great step in the right direction. Offensively, a team that has struggled to score to start their season, this was refreshing. And most Seattle Seahawks fans understand they start the season slow. This is what the Seahawks do. Offensively, they start the season slow, and then they gradually start to pick up steam, and then they become a dangerous team that nobody wants to play. Then injuries start to set in, and then you get to the postseason, and they meet a team that just is simply better than them, and they usually bow out. We'll see if they're able to change the narrative this season, but there's a long season to go. Let's talk about their defense in this game tonight, because I thought early in this game, despite the pick six, they had some breakdowns defensively. The Colts were able to move the football. After the Matthias Farley pick, then you had the Colts take it right down the field and score on the 1-yard touchdown run by an ex-Seahawk, Robert Turbin. And then you turn around and you give up the touchdown to Moncrief right before the half on a beautiful throw by Brissett. And next thing you know, you're trailing. And we'll factor in special teams here as well. It was crazy because they kicked it to the sideline, a reporter, and it was funny. She just said, man, this guy was struggling. We're speaking of Blair Walsh, struggling from this side of the field. I watched him miss about 6 kicks pregame, this side of the field. And so we'll see what happens. And as she said that, she kicked it back to the fellas. And Blair Walsh, when you know it, missed the damn kick. And she said he had pulled them all left. He pushed that one right. And I said, uh-oh, better hope this one doesn't come down to a field goal or less. And they need it down on that end of the field. But Blair Walsh is always sketchy. You never trust kickers that miss kicks in big situations like he did when he was with Minnesota versus this same Seahawks team. Those types of situations, I think, always stick with them mentally. That's a mentally fragile kicker there. I mean, Mike Vanderjagt, at one point, and Colts fans can attest to this, was the most accurate kicker in NFL history. But when he got into clutch spots, there was always something in the back of his mind that reminded him of situations where he failed epically in the most critical situations. And I think those stick with kickers, and it's hard for them to shake those situations. So I don't trust Blair Walsh. That's just a side note. But with this defense, they were giving it up in the first half, and this is the same defense that I watched Tennessee rip a new asshole last week. I watched San Francisco run all over this defense, and they gave up like a 70-yard run to Hyde in that game, and he had well over 100 yards rushing on just 14 or 17 carries. I watched this team give it up the 2 weeks previous. So I was a little worried, and then to see Indianapolis hang tough and Jacoby Brissett move the football as effectively as they did in the first half, I'm saying, look, man, this is not the Seattle Seahawks defense. And yeah, I talked to somebody last week, a Seahawks fan last week, and I said, look, this Legion of Boom they're getting older. Dick Sherman isn't in his prime anymore. You can throw the football on him. Teams choose not to because opposite of him is usually some young corner, especially when Jeremy Lane goes down and you look over there and there's a rookie in Shaquille Griffin or some other obscure corner that you've never heard of. Yeah, you can take a shot at those guys. Why not? I get it. But you can throw the football against Dick Sherman. If you've got a guy that you trust, you can go at Dick Sherman. You can pick up passes. He's physical. He picked up a holding penalty early in this game. You can go after him. You can attack him. And yeah, Cam Chancellor's a year older. I mean, all of those guys are a year older. And the one guy that I still think is playing at a very high level is Earl Thomas. The rest of those guys, a year older. Cam Chancellor, a year older. I think you can exploit Cam Chancellor. You get him in certain situations, you can take advantage of him. Yeah, he's still physical. Yeah, he's still imposing. Yeah, he's still a hell of an underneath defender. But if you get that man running vertically, you can challenge him. There are opportunities for plays to be made against this Seattle Seahawks defense. And the thing that I think right now that if you're a Seahawks fan, you still got to be worried about is when you're not up, when you don't get to pin your ears back, when you don't know what the other team is doing, can you get consistent pressure on the quarterback? I'm not sure. I don't see guys winning like they used to. I don't see Cliff Averill beating tackles immediately off the edge. All right. I don't see Michael Bennett just destroying interior offensive linemen right off the snap and winning and getting to the quarterback. I don't see pockets collapsing like it used to. When Brandon Mebane and company were here and the pocket would just engulf quarterbacks. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing guys having opportunities and time to throw the football. And that's what Jacoby Brissett had in the first quarter, in the second quarter, into the halftime break when they were leading 15-10. It's only when the Seahawks got it going offensively, started to force the issue, and the crowd got involved, and all of a sudden now you saw a young quarterback kind of get rattled, started missing some throws, started holding on to the ball a little bit too long, offensive line got beat a little bit. That's when they knew, okay, the Colts got to throw it now. The run game pretty much out of the game plan now. We can go after this kid. And that's when you started to see them win. But what happens when that's not the case? And you can't just go after a quarterback, when you can't just pin your ears back? The end result looks like Tennessee. The end result looks like the first half of this game. And for that, I'm a little nervous. I still think that this defense has to come together. I still haven't seen Sheldon Richardson play his best football in a Seahawks uniform. I want to see this defense become elite again. They're not there yet. And that's why you have time. It's a young season. And if they can somehow hit their stride around week 7, week 8, kind of get this thing back to where teams aren't scoring up over 20, 23 points against you, but rather in the teens. And if they get to the 20s, they're lucky. This could become a dangerous team with some of the guys you have offensively if you can remain balanced. This could become a dangerous team, but there's still some doubt. But I know that this Seattle Seahawks team knows how to win. And they're still going to win the NFC West when it's all said and done for me. And they got a big one next week up in L.A. versus the Rams. First place on the line. It's a huge game. We know the Rams know how to play those boys. That's going to be fun. That's one of those front row and center games. Sign me up for that. That's big time football next week, week 5. I'll definitely be tuning into that. I watch all the games, so what am I really saying? But that's one that I've got circled on the calendar for next week. But this was a dominant performance. You needed this, and this was a dominant second half as you run away with this one, 46-18 in the second half. You go to the Colts, and thought thought you battled in the first half of this game. You gave yourself a shot. And for the early stages of the second half, you were right there. You know, this game was 18-18 at one point before the Seahawks ran off 28 unanswered. I mean, it was an avalanche that you weren't prepared for. You know, you gave yourself a shot. They drive it down the field, and they started getting chunk plays. I mean, there was a chunk play to Graham over the middle, a couple of chunk plays to Graham. There was a chunk play to Lockett. They just started to have their way. McKissick with a chunk play for a touchdown, another chunk play for a touchdown. They just started gashing you. Russell started to get out of the pocket, extend plays. The running game started to really factor in. And then they were able to force your second turnover for a touchdown. And that you just can't afford that. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, you're not good enough to give up points on the offensive side of the football to the other team's defense. You can't throw a pick six. You can't fumble and have it scoop and score. At some point, somebody's got to tackle Bobby Wagner. Damn, Bobby looked like a running back. He turned the clock back to his high school days. Stiff-armed the dude. Over-armed another guy, man. Watch out. Cut back. And willed his way into the end zone. That was beautiful. Somebody's got to get him down right there and allow the defense to have a chance to come out and try to force a field goal. But in any event, the wheels just fell off this wagon in the second half. But I thought you competed. Again, this team has some stuff offensively. I still don't think you have enough in the backfield with Frank. Old man Gore still chugging along, but that's not good enough. And I know Marlon Mack is the guy you drafted. He was injured. He didn't play tonight. Old man Gore isn't enough because even if he hits the seam, he's not going anywhere. You're still going to have to find a way to get in the end zone. I like your tight ends. I don't love Jack Doyle. I don't love him at all. You know, and Jack's been really reliable for you. He wasn't tonight. You know, a couple of drops in this football game. A big one in the second half on a third down that would have extended the drive. Had he caught it, he probably would have gotten the first down. Instead, he drops it. And like I said, there's talent. You know, it was good to see Dante Moncrief get involved tonight because I'd been waiting for him to do anything. I haven't really seen I'm still waiting for the Dante Moncrief of his rookie season to return. I'm waiting for that guy. I haven't seen him since his rookie season. I would like him to return now. You can come back now. We're waiting. And it was good to see him make some plays. Always good to see T.Y. get involved. He wasn't involved enough in this game, and that's T.Y. Hilton. I already told you that. Last week, he was huge. You know, the week before, he did a little something, but not much. That's T.Y. Hilton. He'll have 2 catches for 18 yards one week. And the next week, he'll explode for 7 catches for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the next week, he'll have 3 catches for 16 yards. That's T.Y. Hilton. And until Andrew Luck comes back, that'll continue to be T.Y. Hilton. So you really don't know what you're getting from him from week to week. And for as much as it seemed like you invested in the receiver position, like you overdid it, now I look at your receiver position and I'm like, there's not enough there. You know, I remember when you drafted Philip Dorsett, and everybody was like, why'd you do that? You didn't need to do that. Now I'm looking at your receiver core and I'm like, there's not enough talent there. Where's the rest of your stuff? I don't know where it's at. So it is what it is with this Colts team offensively. That's why Andrew Luck is so important because he makes everybody around him better. Jacoby Brissett's not at that point yet, but I like him. I like Jacoby Brissett a lot. And I'm telling you, you can't tell me that watching him in this game, the leadership on the sideline, getting the guys revved up, his ability. Now, the one thing that surprised me over the first 4 weeks, these past 3 weeks with him starting, is his mobility. I knew he could run at NC State. I watched him. I knew he could move. But I didn't think he could move that well. I was like, man, he's a big, fat boy quarterback. You know, to me, like, he doesn't run well. He doesn't move well enough to scare anybody at the next level where all these athletes are on the field. Man, I'll send a 300-pound defensive lineman to chase him down. No, the hell you won't. No, you won't. Jacoby be moving, man. Last week, he put a spin move on a couple of Brown defenders en route to a touchdown. This week, the Red Sea parted and he scrambled and scampered for about 25, setting up a touchdown. This guy can move, man. And I think he's poised in the pocket. He's a big guy, so he's not intimidated to stand in there and stare down the gun barrel and deliver the football. He can throw. He's got an arm. He's accurate when he's got time to step into his throw. That throw to Dante Moncrief right before the half, can't throw that football any better than that. Back shoulder, defender wasn't looking. I see your numbers, that means my receiver's open. Drilled it in there. That's beautiful, man. This guy, I'm trying to tell y'all, and I'm not conjuring up a quarterback controversy or anything like that. You can get something for this dude, man. And I know Andrew Luck doesn't stay healthy, and it'd be nice to have a Jacoby Brissett on your roster, but you know Andrew Luck's your future. You know that. So why not get something for this guy and reinvest a resource into the quarterback position with another young quarterback, one that you know isn't going to start in this league, but is a quality backup for you that you trust. You get one of them in the 4th, 5th round somewhere. You know, why don't you get a 2nd round pick for this? I think you can get 2nd or at least the 3rd for Jacoby Brissett. I'm telling you, man, if he continues to play the way that I've seen him play over the last 3 weeks, man, this young man's got a future in this league as a starter somewhere. I'm convinced. But in any event, you go to the Colts defense and look, you got a long way to go on the defensive side of football. I already said I don't think you have that one guy, and I think Terrell Basham could be that guy. He's just not that guy right now. And it was nice to see Robert Mathis on that sidelines. It looked like he went straight from the locker room to the coaching staff. So he's got a job as some kind of assistant there. That's nice. That's a great guy for Terrell Basham to learn from. I want to see them take Terrell Basham, because he's a talented football player, and turn him into a pass rusher that is feared in this league, and I think they can do that. If they can do that, you might have something with him, and all of a sudden this defense looks vastly different, because I think you got the pieces to stop the run up front with Jabal Sheard, Al Woods, John Bostic, and those 2 Florida linebackers, and Bostic and Morrison inside. You can stop the run up front. I'm convinced that you can be better at stopping the run, but you can stop the run. Even though you didn't do it tonight as effectively as you would have liked, I think you can stop the run. If y'all made y'all mind up, okay, we're stopping the run, you guys can stop the run. You got the pieces to do so. My concern is in the secondary, because you're not getting enough pass rush. So even though Rashard Melvin has looked good these first couple of weeks and had 2 picks last week versus Cleveland, you can still throw the football on him, okay? Let's not get it twisted. You can still throw the football on him. Quincy Wilson is young, and so, you know, it was nice to get back Vontae Davis this week. That's going to help you immensely if he can stay healthy. But you can still throw against this secondary because it's a young secondary. But I will tell you this. That young kid from Ohio State, that young kid there is worth the price of admission. I've watched him the last 3 weeks make an interception in each one of those games. And Malik Hooker looks legit. I told you that after week 2 when he got his first pick versus Arizona. I said, man, I told you in that game that Quincy Wilson and Malik Hooker looked good. I said, man, you got some young stuff in that secondary. I'm telling you, that one-hand pick, come on. He did that so casually. You just go ahead and snag that on the ricochet, on the carom. Let me get that. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. But it's still a young secondary. And with young players come mistakes, come defensive breakdowns, come wide open receivers. You saw that tonight. And so for all of the plays that can be made, they're going to be plays that are going to be made against this defense. For all the plays that they're going to make to turn teams over, you're going to have teams making plays against your defense because it's a young secondary. And I actually have more hope for the Colts defense than a lot of people do out there. I actually see talent on that side of football. I'm more worried about the Colts offense than I am the defense. Well, you got to get some pass rush. This secondary isn't good enough to just hold up on its own. Like, you can't just go man-to-man across the board like some elite defenses in this league. And the best defenses in this league can go man-to-man across the board. The Redskins are trying to morph into that type of defense where they can just line up and go man-to-man across the board. The Denver Broncos have been one of the best defenses in the league because of their ability to go man-to-man across the board. In the slot, out wide, and have safeties that have range that can make up for some mistakes that may be made by their corners. That's the league in a nutshell in terms of being dominant. The Seahawks have made a living by coming up, challenging receivers in cover 3 with Earl Thomas erasing any mistakes in the back half. That's how you win in this league. Challenging receivers at the line of scrimmage. I'm not saying the Colts can do that right now. But if you could get a pass rush, it sure would help. Because you got some long, rangy defenders in that secondary that could really disrupt some things at the line of scrimmage if you could just get a little bit of pass rush. But that wasn't the case tonight. That hasn't really been the case all season. And in the second half, things fell apart. Seahawks started getting chunk plays. And like I said, it was an avalanche, and you just weren't prepared to deal with that. And Seahawks run away with this one 46-18. Not really much you can do when you give up 28 unanswered points. This game was 18-18 midway through the third quarter. That one got out of hand quick. And Colts dropped to 1-3. Seahawks go to 2-2. And just how big of a loss was that Arizona game now, looking back? I mean, you could be 2-2 right in the thick of things of your division. Instead, you're 1-3. And you got to win next week versus San Francisco. That's a must-win game if you want to keep your season alive. You lose that game, and at that point, I'm not saying that Houston's going to run away with your division. They got a toughie next week. I'm not saying that Tennessee's the cream of the crop in that division. We saw what happened to them today, and Marcus Mariota's having an MRI on his hamstring. You know, anything could happen in the division, but you're making it a lot tougher on yourself if you can't beat San Francisco. You drop to 1-4, and the likelihood of you making anything of your season reduces exponentially. So that's a must-win game next week for you if you're Indianapolis. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Seahawks, at 2-2, going to 3-1 L.A. to take on the Rams, with first place on the line. It's a two-team race. Arizona, just like Seattle, barely escaped San Francisco. The difference is Seattle's actually a good football team, and I don't think Arizona is very good. I think Arizona plays defense, but their offense I don't think scares anyone. And so I don't see them winning more than 7 games, do the Arizona Cardinals this season. That being said, it's a two-team race in the NFC West, in my mind. And so if you're going to win this division like I think you're going to win, you need to go to L.A. and win. You need to make a statement. Go to L.A. and show those boys that they're not ready to take over the division just quite yet. Give them another year or two. Maybe they'll be able to make some noise, but they're not ready yet. That's what you got to go to L.A. and show them. And that's been a house of horrors for you, whether it's outside in L.A. like it was last year where you lost what? Would you lose that game? 12-9? What was that score last year? Not 13-9? What was that last year? Boy, was that a bad game or what? I think it was 9-3. It was 9-3 last year in LA. And, you know, all the House of Horror stories you have back in the Edwards Jones Dome when they were in St. Louis. So you struggle with this team away from home. And 2 years ago, they went into Seattle and bust your ass there, too, and swept you. So in any event, you got to find a way to conquer your demons. This is the one team in the division that you just can't seem to figure out. Well, you need to figure their ass out next week because you lose next week, and they think they win in the division. And I'm going to tell you right now, with the way that they're playing and the confidence that's building in L.A., you lose next week, and you're going to have a hard time wrestling this division away from them. Make a statement next week, bring them back down to earth, and you'll win this division, and you'll win it going away because you'll bring them back down to earth where they belong. You lose next week, and now you can't tell them nothing. Their head will explode into the stratosphere, and you can't tell the Rams nothing. And all of a sudden now you have helped create a monster that you may not be able to simmer down nor put out. A fire that will be so big that it will spread, and I don't know if you'll be able, anybody in this division be able to put it out at that point. So that's a big game next week. Let's get to your comments, though. See what you guys got. Enrique Valencia says, Frank Gore and Vontae Davis need to go after this year, both liabilities. Vontae for his injury purposes, and Frank Gore is just old. Like, Frank Gore should have been gone a year or two ago. But he can still play, but he shouldn't be starting on anybody's roster. he shouldn't be getting the amount of touches that he gets week in and week out. That position, in particular, the running back position, man, you can find a young boy to come in and do something. I mean, the fact that you got like a 34, 35-year-old back there is ridiculous. It's just asinine, really. You know, it'd be one thing if he was a receiver, a veteran receiver like an Anquan Bolden type that you trust, that you know can still get it done, move the sticks. Frank Gore is a reliable running back. You trust him, but you're looking for explosion and dynamic ability at that position where you need young, fresh legs. The running back position is no country for old men. And the fact that you've been allowing Frank to tote the rock as a starter for you for the last 3 years or so now, it's ridiculous. Utter ridiculousness. Enrique Valencia also says Chuck needs to go too. And also Malik Hooker, already the best free safety in the NCL. I don't know what the NCL is, but I think you meant NFL. Don't do that. He's not the best free safety in the NFL already, but he's a damn good one already. That's for sure. We see the potential, and so I like him a lot. I think Chuck's going to be gone after this year anyway. He was almost gone after this past season that went by. I was surprised they didn't get rid of him and your ex-GM at the same time. I thought they were going to clean house and start over, but they didn't. I sort of feel bad for Chuck, but then I don't. Because sometimes I feel like Chuck does some things that kind of put his team in a bad spot. He doesn't make necessary adjustments, and so it is what it is. Enrique Valencia, but I mean, really, honestly speaking, hard to win without your prize bull. You know, your starting quarterback's not there for the first probably 5 to 6 weeks of the season. Hard to put a lot of this on Chuck, to be honest with you. Enrique says, think we can flip Jacoby for a second-round pick? I think it's possible, but he's got to continue to play well, and then you got to put him away. It's the guy that tantalizes teams with his talents and his skill set, but you don't see enough of him to make you think that he's not worth it. So if he plays well for the next 2 weeks, let's say you go and you blow out San Francisco, and then the following week, I don't know who you have after that, he plays once more and performs well. Let's say you win the game. Let's say you lose close, but he goes out 3 touchdowns, 270 to 330 yards, no interceptions, and he looks legit. And then you put him away. Andrew Luck comes back. You put him away. You don't see him for the remainder of the season. You can flip his ass. You can flip him. Because somebody's going to come calling next year. They're going to look around at the quarterback situation. Everybody's not getting one of these quarterbacks that's coming out in the draft. And I'm not high on all of them either. I still think that the Wyoming kid, Josh Allen, he's looked horrible this year. I still think a lot of that is circumstance. His team is not good at all. That being said, you can't keep making the type of mistakes he's been making. Bottom line, Darnold has turned it over. Allen has looked bad. Rosen doesn't look all that to me. I'm just telling you that I don't know if this quarterback draft is going to be all that, and I don't know if all these dudes are coming out. Josh Allen might say, you know what? We stunk so bad. My draft stock is not where I want it to be. I'm going back to school. Darnold could say, I'm going back to school. Next thing you know, Rosen and like Baker Mayfield and the kid out of Oklahoma State are the best you got. Mason Rudolph, and I'm not sold on him either, are the best guys you got. And you look up and you say, wow, that's not what we thought we were getting. And then all of a sudden, teams look around and they say, man, we need a quarterback. We need a quarterback now. And there's going to be a couple of them. What if Ben Roethlisberger retires? I know they drafted my man out of Tennessee, Josh Dobbs. I don't know if he's an NFL starter or not. I'm not buying that yet. Carson Palmer's probably going to be done after this year. What are they going to do? I don't know. Because they're not going to be bad enough to get a top 15 pick or 13 or so. They were right around 13 last year. They'll be right around there again. But generally, you don't get top-tier quarterbacks outside of the top 10. You want one of them dudes, you're going to have to be in the top 10 to get one of them. So the question then becomes, what do you do? I'm telling you, Jacoby Brissett's going to be an option for somebody next year. And I think you might be able to flip him for a second-round pick. I don't know if you'll be able to get a second, but you'll definitely be able to get at least a third. I would want a second, though. Mazer _12 says, is there a trend for the AFC South? Week 1, Texas got dismantled by the Jags. Week 2 or 3, I forgot, Jags dismantled by the Titans. The Jags got dismantled by the Titans in week 3. That was last week where the Titans went there. Or actually, you're right, it was week 2 that they went there and destroyed them. Then week 4, both the Titans and the Colts get dismantled. The AFC, it's not a trend as much as it is this division doesn't have a definitive, clear-cut best team. You would like to think that Houston, if Deshaun Watson can play the way that he played with their defense, that they're the runaway favorite in that division. But Deshaun Watson's a rookie quarterback. He's not going to play that way every single week. Now, these last 2 weeks have been impressive, but you got to keep in mind, I haven't watched the Titans game yet, but 57 is 57. I don't give a damn. Like, there's no way to justify 57. They went out and kicked some ass, and he was outstanding. But with that being said, the Titans, they were overwhelmed in that game. And I haven't watched it yet. They just got their ass whooped, and it happens sometimes. But the Titans defensively, you can score on them. They're a quality, solid defense, but you can score on the Titans defense. They're no world beater, right? The week prior against New England's defense is horrible. They're one of the worst defenses in the league. Carolina couldn't bust a grape offensively the first 3 weeks of the season. They go up there and they score 33. So what does that tell you about New England's offense or defense, excuse me? So they still haven't played a real defense yet. Deshaun Watson hasn't seen a real defense yet. Hasn't seen a real defense. And I think a defense like Jacksonville could tame his ass again. Like they didn't. But again, I'm going to throw that week 1 game because he wasn't starting then. He didn't have experience. They weren't tailoring the game plan around him. That was Tom Savage's game. He gets benched at halftime. But what I'm saying to you is there's no clear-cut definitive division winner in the AFC South right now. There's not one team you can point to and say, all right, we know they win in that division. In the past years, it was either Indy or Houston. This division is wide open. Jacksonville blew a golden opportunity today. You can't go on the road and lose to the Jets. I'm throwing them out of the mix. They're gonna F some stuff up for some teams, though. All right? They're not done wreaking havoc in this division. They're going to beat another team or two in this division before it's all said and done. They've already beat Houston. They got blown out, got their doors blown off by the Titans. They may turn back around and beat the Titans later on in the season. They may come back around, beat Indy once, and they may turn around and beat Houston again. Who's to say? I can't say. They're gonna wreck some stuff. They're going to be a thorn in somebody's side in this division before it's all said and done. Because defensively, they're good enough to hang in ball games and make it tough. But offensively, they're still missing the quarterback. That's the problem. Even though Blake Bortles, you look at the numbers, you say he was awful today. He made enough plays for them to win. I blame this game on Marquise Lee. He drops a critical third down that would have gave him an opportunity to kick a field goal in overtime that would have won him the game. Instead, he drops the football. Then he misjudges a punt, allows it to trickle all the way down inside the 5, then picks it up. And that set up the field position that would doom the Jags, force them to punt from their own end zone, give the Jets the football with a chance to win, and they ended up taking it down and getting a game-winning field goal to beat the Jags. So I put this loss on Marquise Lee. So the Jags, you got to win against the Jets. But I said all of that to say this. This division, the AFC South, is still wide open. It's anybody's guess. If you're not aware of this by now, I've told you this so many times. And if you've been watching it, just this season alone should tell you all you need to know. It's a week-to-week league. Houston scores 57 this week. Next week, they might barely score 17 and lose. That's the type of league it is. They got Kansas City next week. That's the first time Deshaun Watson's going to see a real legit defense. He's not putting up 57 next week. They're not putting up 57 next week at home. They may go out and score 30-something, and you might still be impressed. Or he could come back down to earth, crashing back down to earth, and they could put it on his ass, and he could turn it over 3 times, and they could lose that game 33-17 next week. This is the National Football League, and there are only a few teams that you can count on week in and week out to get it done. And even some of those teams, like the Patriots, you can't count on anymore because their defense is horrible. So I said all of that again to say this division is wide open. Mazer_12 says, today the Seahawks and Texas both combined for 103 points when they both combined for 41 total points the first 2 weeks. That's my point exactly, is that this league is unpredictable. It's a week-to-week league. You don't know what's going to happen from week to week. You don't know when teams are going to finally hit their stride. You don't know. This league is almost impossible to predict. Who saw Buffalo going on the road and beating Atlanta? I knew Buffalo was going to be competitive. I watched them go to Carolina and should have won that football game and lost 9-3. But then who saw Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu getting injured? I remember very vividly just 2 weeks ago on Sunday night when the Falcons beat the Green Bay Packers, Falcons fans didn't want to hear about injuries. We don't want to hear about that. We find a way to win. Okay. I told them, don't do that. They said, no, we don't want to hear nothing about no damn injuries. We won. We bust their ass. Fair and square. That's what we do. We got injuries too. Okay. Or as a wise man once told me, okay. Vincent Cole says, Seahawks, Rams, both playoff bound. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know if y'all getting too busy. I think the NFC East is getting 2 for sure. Possibly 3. The way the Eagles looking right now, 3-1. The Cowboys, I'm not ready to write them off at 2-2. And we're going to see what the Redskins look like tomorrow. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that division is getting 2. I think the NFC East is getting 2. And then I look over at the NFC South, and I saw what Carolina did today. I look at Atlanta. New Orleans is still there now at 2-2. They're getting 2. You're not getting 2. So one of y'all is going to have to step up and be the alpha dog in that division and say, hey, it's me. I'm going to the playoffs. And the other team is going to say, hey, maybe next year. But I'm looking at those 2 divisions, and I'm like, hey, man, game recognized game, and them divisions looking damn familiar right now. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But we're going to find out. Next week, that game, Rams-Seahawks, that's going to tell me a lot about both of those teams. Vincent Cole says Malik Hooker is really good. You think? Yeah, that guy he's special. And we knew he had that kind of ability coming out of Ohio State. It's been confirmed after watching him these first 3 weeks or 4 weeks of the season. Protect428 says, I got to see more from the Seahawks. This team offensively. I feel Indy. He said, I feel for Indy, yo. They fought hard, but without luck, they suck. I mean, it is what it is. You know, you take a team's quarterback from them, franchise quarterback from them. It's hard for that team to just move forward as if they're fine. It's like taking Tom Brady from the Patriots. It's like taking Drew Brees from the Saints. It's like taking Cam Newton from the Panthers. You take a team's franchise QB from them. We saw what happened to the Raiders last year once Derek Carr went down. It's not the same team. You take a team's franchise QB from them, they got no shot. Blackbird Blitz says, we need pace. We need you to, I guess he's saying, we need you to pace yourself tomorrow. Need this energy for Monday Night Football overtime. You're going to get it, man. It's my boys. Of course you're going to get a ton of energy tomorrow, man. I'm going to be amped after. Whether we win or lose, I'm going to be amped after that game. So I'll be fine. Protect428. Bobby was making plays look like beast mode on the fumble return. Bobby Wagner is one of the best. There's a short list of inside linebackers in this league that are just phenomenal, that have separated themselves from the rest of the league. Luke Kuechly, one of them, obviously. Bobby Wagner is up there. And when we start listing off the best inside linebackers, we tend to forget about him. I don't know why, because he's up there every single year as one of the best performers. I'm a Ryan Shazier fan. I put him at the top because he's the youngest of the group. When he's healthy and right, you won't find a more dynamic, explosive linebacker in this game. But there are a number of legit, just game-changing middle linebackers, and those are 3 of the best, and Bobby Wagner finds himself as one of the best in the league. He just continues to make plays. I love Bobby Wagner. Protect428 says, T.Y. blows my life. He's literally the most inconsistent #1 wide receiver in the NFL. Jacoby isn't bad, though. Played really, really well through the circumstances, bro. T.Y. Hilton, anyone that has watched the Colts, that has seen T.Y. Hilton, has followed his career, you know that this man is as inconsistent as it gets. And Jacoby Brissett continues to play at a high enough level that I'm convinced that this man can start in this league. Protect428 says they need Luck to come back badly. It may be too late, to be honest with you. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Pepe the YouTuber says, I just skipped over a bunch of comments. Here we go. Pepe the YouTuber says, hold up, Carr and Mariota got hurt on the same day again. Yeah, those two are linked at the hip. When one goes down, it's like they have some kind of telepathy or something. You know, like they're joint at the hip. And when one has pain, the other feels pain. But I think both of them are going to be a lot more minor this time around. Last year, they were significant injuries that ended their seasons. This year, I think that you're going to see them both return sooner rather than later. I'm a little bit more concerned about Mariota's hamstring. He needs his legs. That's a part of his game. Whereas Carr with his back, they said it's just spasms. He'll be back. But you don't ever want a quarterback to be going through back issues. You saw what happened to Tony Romo's career. So we'll see. But yes, that is a fact. They got hurt on the same day yet again. Protect428 says, Rams or Seahawks? I got the Rams winning this game in week 5. I can't do it, man. I can't do that right now. I got to sit down and analyze. I got to see who's hurt, who's not. I got to see where everybody's head is going into the game, and then I'll be able to make an assessment. But that's going to be a hell of a football game. I can't wait. If you made me pick right off of first blush, I'd take the Rams just because they know how to play the Seahawks. And they're playing with so much confidence right now. But I got a scary, eerie feeling that the Seahawks, they got that whole get off my lawn, old man mentality. And they're like, hey, we're going to show these boys, man. They ain't ready for the show yet. So we're going to see. Sean Mack says, Seahawks always have trouble with the Rams. Could the Rams really end up being 4-1? Golf looks to be taking that next step. I told you what was going to happen when Sean McVay got his hands on him. So Golf looking this good doesn't shock me, surprise me, any of those things at all. But the Rams have been good before. They were 3-1. I think they were 3-1 last year. 3-2, something of that ilk last year. We've seen the Rams start well. It's how do they play. I want to see how they deal with this success, because that was a big win today or yesterday. It was a big win versus the Cowboys on the road. So I want to see how they handle the success of everyone telling them how good they are now after getting that win on the road. That was a big win. Sean Mack says he's a Buckeye, of course, bro. He's talking about Malik Hooker, who's just gotten off to an outstanding start to his career. Cloud says, I'm mad Marcus Smith actually sacked somebody after leaving the Eagles. I thought the same thing when I saw him tonight. I said, isn't that about a bitch? He leaves, and sometimes when a guy is overdrafted like Marcus Smith was, and the pressure is put on him, it's just too much for him to bear, too much for him to handle. You go somewhere else where you're not expected a lot out of. No one knows who you are. No one doesn't look at you and see disappointment. And you just get a chance to just go out and play. And sometimes a change of scenery, a change of environment is what a guy needs. And he seems to be one of those guys. That was a nice move. Speed up the field, get those hands off me. Good handwork right around the corner, sack, force, fumble, scoop, and score. That's gorgeous. Never saw anything like it in Philly. Not once. Sean Mack says, for the second year in a row, Carr and Mariota get hurt on the same day. Freaky, bro. Hashtag freaky, bro. Yeah. Pepe, the YouTuber, brought that up a little bit earlier. For sure. Next comment is from Angry Birds of Chaos. When you're watching Texas Titans game, I just go in the order the way they have it set up on NFL Game Pass. However they set it up, that's the way I watch it. I don't go in saying I gotta watch this game first. However they got it listed in the line of games, that's how I knock them down. So I can't tell you right now, but wherever they're set up, that's when I'll be knocking that one down. Cloud says, What should the Colts do? Should they redshirt Luck and let him get healthy, get a high draft pick, and then trade that high draft pick for more draft picks and currency? No one ever wants to lose. And when you got a head coach like Chuck Pagano, who is on the hot seat, he's doing everything in his power to win and win now. So the minute he gets clearance that Luck can go, Luck is in the lineup. So no, that's definitely not coming from Chuck Pagano. You know, if that decision were made, that would be coming from the higher ups. And again, nobody's in the business of losing. You know, it's hard to sell the Colts fan base on the fact that, hey, Andrew Luck's healthy, but we're not gonna play him this year. What? I got season tickets to see Andrew Luck, not to see Jacoby Brissett. You better put Andrew Luck's ass in the game. And oh, by the way, this division is wide open. Like, just because we start off the season 1-3 doesn't mean we can't win this division. You go to San Francisco and win next week, you're 2-3. The Texans could easily lose next week. Probably should lose next week to Kansas City. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs. But all of a sudden, you know, you look up and the Texans could be 3-2. You're gonna be a game out of first place. Like, and you own the Texans for the most part. When Andrew Luck is healthy, of course. So we'll see. I don't see that happening at all, though. Protect428 says, you ready to get this dub tomorrow? Let's upset these guys. Hashtag HTTR. Hashtag FKC. Hashtag let's bust their ass. I'm glad you're confident because I am not. So you got enough confidence for both of us. I'll let you do the talking. I'm going to just sit back and hope, wish, and pray that we get it done. I'm not as confident at all. Blackbird Blitz says, my man, hashtag Greg Brewer, suggested a lab room tailgate party sometime, somewhere in the future. Please put that on your things to-do list, bro. No doubt, man. I'm thinking about doing a little traveling. You know, again, once this channel gets to a place where I'm able to do that. And again, you know, when you're working a 9-to-5 and you're doing this on the side, to me, I got 2 full-time jobs. You know, I got a job that helps pay the bills, and then I got this, which is another full-time job in itself. When you're trying to do both, it's hard to do all of the things that you want to do. When I'm able to have the currency and the resources and the means to be able to do the things that I want to do, because that's when I want to come out there and converse with y'all. I want to actually travel and get out there and chop it up with y'all, watch games with y'all, talk football with y'all in person. But again, it's hard to do that when, you know, you don't have the means nor the resources to do so. So again, those things happen in the future, but I gotta get to a point where I'm able to do that. And that's why you guys being able to donate is such a big deal if you can. I don't hate anybody, Greg Brewer. You got to use the hashtag Louie T Live. That's why I'm not reading your comments. I don't know if that's what you think. I don't hate anybody, though. Angry Birds of Chaos says, what to do with Dwayne Brown? Trade, pay, keep? Bottom line is, if you value the man, you would pay him. But if you don't see this having a happy, and Dwayne's not playing with your ass. Like, most guys are afraid of missing game checks. Dwayne's not afraid of that. As you can see, Dwayne hasn't reported and isn't reporting. So Dwayne ain't playing with y'all ass. So at this point, if you're not going to pay that man, you look around the league and say, hey, look, man, Seattle, boy, you could sure use a Dwayne Brown. What you trying to give up? You look around at some other teams that's struggling at the tackle position. Hey, man, you a contender. You can't afford to have these tackle problems. Look at Denver. They had another tackle go down today. Garrett Bowles, their left tackle that they drafted, went down. You look at Denver and say, hey, man, I sure hate for your season to get wrecked because you don't have any tackles. I got Dwayne Brown over here, a legit starting left tackle in this league. What you trying to do now? You're going to have to tear up his contract and give him a new one. But, hey, what you trying to do? There's some teams around here that could use a left tackle, a starting left tackle. Now, Dwayne Brown is not a young guy. And that's the problem that you run into, is that the Texans understand he's not a young guy. They don't want to pay him because he's not a young guy. But there's somebody out there can get this man some Andrew Whitworth money Andrew Whitworth up there in age, 3 years, $30 million to go play for the Rams, and he's holding it down for Jared Goff. Part of the reason why the Rams are so prolific offensively is because they rebuilt that offensive line. Excuse me. Somebody else might be able to do that, but if y'all not going to pay the man, then y'all need to trade the man. Get something for him. Sean Mack says, it depends on which Kirk shows up, bro. He's bipolar. He's a bipolar quarterback. Never know what the hell he is showing up at any given Sunday. # LOL. I can't disagree. Even though he's been more good than bad on these primetime games, especially Monday night, he's been really bad. Thursday night and Monday night have been his undoing. They've been his kryptonite. So we'll see. I'm hoping that Kirk starts to play good. It doesn't matter against what type of defense. He hasn't played well against an elite defense yet. So I'm still nervous. I like you, don't know what we're going to get out of him tomorrow night or tonight. Sean Mack says, got to make that cheddar, bro. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a must. Protect 428 says, is Kirk Cousins a franchise quarterback? Who's the ranking of the quarterbacks in the NFC East? Of course he's a franchise quarterback. That goes without saying. You put talent around Kirk Cousins, and you see what this guy could be. He was the NFC player of the week last week. I mean, we've seen him do that. We've seen him put up the numbers he put up last week. We've seen him perform at a high level. You don't throw for damn near 5,000 yards by accident. That doesn't happen by happenstance. He's a good football player. But he's got to play better in crucial moments and against better defenses. He's got to play better. And if I'm ranking the quarterbacks in the division, I'd probably take Wentz first, then Kirk, then Dak, and then Eli Manning at this stage of their careers. But if you ask me, would I take Kirk for the team that we have now? I would. I would take Kirk over Carson Wentz for the team the way it's constructed right now for the Redskins. But if you're talking about for the next decade, which of these quarterbacks, I'm taking Carson Wentz. Pepe the YouTuber says, I want to be hyped with Watson, but he's still a rookie. Just doesn't get I hope he doesn't get eaten up by Kansas City. We're going to see. Going to see. So, y'all stupid, man. B said, what did I miss? I celebrated the win with some Jack House everyone's night. Everything's good, BE, man. Y'all over there living dangerously, BE. I'm going to tell you that right now, bro. Y'all living really dangerous, man. Y'all walking that fine line over there, but y'all got it done. Angry Birds of Chaos says, Texans win, Titans, Colts, Jags lost, even the Cowboys lost as well. Pretty good Sunday, and thanks for the vids. Big fan. Ain't no doubt, man. I appreciate you checking me out. Absolutely. And with that, we're going to wrap this thing on up, man. It's been a great day of football. I'm excited. Look, I did horrible in my picks, but with that being said, I've never been so excited about being wrong about picks. And I'm hoping that I can be wrong one more time. Do it one more time. One more time. I will gladly go 6-10. I think I'm 7-8 right now. I will gladly go 6-10. No, I think I'm 7-9 right now, or I'm 6-9. Excuse me, right now. I will gladly go 6-10 for a Redskins win. Bring it on, baby, bring it on. The Falcons lost. That brings a smile to my face. And I don't hate the Falcons, but they're in the NFC. And I want my team to be one of the best teams in the NFC. I don't want anybody running away with the best record in the NFC. I don't want anybody being 15-1. Because if my team ends up being really good, if we win this game, we got a chance to be really good. I want to be able to say, hey, I got a shot for the number 1 seed, number 2 seed, all that. I can start dreaming big. So I don't want the Falcons to end up 8-0 and everybody else is struggling at 5-3 and 6-2 and the Falcons run away with this thing. No, hell no. I want everybody nice and close. I want to be able to reach out and touch everybody. So they lose. I don't want any undefeated teams in the league. So I want to knock Kansas City off so there's no more undefeated teams. So Falcons lose. Any week the Patriots lose is a good week. They lose. The Cowboys lose. Any week the Cowboys lose is a great week. Then who else lost that I was like, wow, that's great. Like the Giants lost, but I picked them to lose. So that wasn't a surprise. But I think it was one or two more games that I was like, yes, that I didn't pick. But in the grand scheme of things, turned out to be an excellent week in terms of teams losing. I'm trying to think who else lost that I didn't see coming that would have made a difference to me. I don't know if anybody else lost. But those three alone made it a hell of a week just because it does a lot. Just for the league, the parity in this league, man. I don't want to see any dominant teams on either side of the bracket. Because I know this is going to sound crazy. And it should sound crazy because I don't even believe that I'm thinking this. But because I've seen elite offense in DC for so long, or at least since Kirk Cousins has taken over, but not a defense to match. What we have a chance to do tonight versus the Chiefs is show that we might actually have a defense to match our offense. And if we have that, dare I say, we got a shot. I won't say it. We got a shot. Just know that, goddammit. And seeing all these other teams lose, seeing that no one's invincible, everyone can be beaten at home, on the road, doesn't matter. God damn it. If we go to Kansas City and win, if we go to Kansas City and are uber competitive, but if we win, damn it. It's going to do it for your man Louie T here, man. I'm going to dream big, man. Dream. Dream, 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 dream. Thank y'all for joining me tonight, man. It's been a great week of football. And hopefully this thing gets capped off with a bang on Monday Night Football. Either way, we got lockdown coverage all day today. And, of course, the big showdown, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs taking on my Washington Redskins. Monday Night Football is going to be great. Bart Scott can't wait. So I thank you guys for joining me tonight on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Seahawks get the win in dominant fashion, running away with this thing in the second half, 46-18. They're now 2-2 on the season. Colts lead the game at 1-3. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I will see you guys tomorrow for lockdown coverage all day long. And then, of course, we'll be back for Monday Night Football Overtime. I'm your man, Louie T. For you all out there joining me, thank you. For me, Louie T, signing off. See you later on today. Have a good one.